Hello everybody, we are back with another speedrun video against Anhad PDX Provisional 633. We stick a pawn in the center and then we continue to develop a piece that controls the center. Very easy, very principled, easy moves. What else fulfills that role? A knight move, right? Develop towards the center. Maybe this knight, develop towards the center, right? D3, center. F4, center. C3, center. These are all moves that affect and control the center. These are the moves you're looking for. My opponent offers a draw. I'm just going to accept it because ain't nobody got time for that. Luckily, we get another white game super quick after. We're going to make believe that never happened. We're now against Niter Trek 670. Not provisional, but what the heck. Knight h6, not center, but I guess it's development, right? We're just going to develop a piece towards the center. It's so simple in the opening. He develops a knight towards the center instead of towards the edge. This makes a lot more sense for him. But it's our turn. We go d3. This attacks and supports the center and prepares development. He moves the same piece twice, very slow, very inefficient, in order to attack nothing, no threats. Now it's our turn. Also, undefends two central squares. Not a good move. Our turn. Some of you might be inclined to double the pawns, but does doubling the pawns have anything to do with development? No. Center? No. King safety? No. Because for all you know, he's going to castle the other way. So, not doing it. Comprende? But it is my turn. As always, I'm going to go f4 and attack the center with a pawn. Because when you attack the center with a piece, it's fine. But once they defend it with a pawn, that the pressure is completely gone from the piece. But the pawn, that pressure is always there because the pawn is the least valuable. So that's why I like to do it. Anyway, not necessary, but attacks the center. I just want to show you that's where all the good lines come from. The various moves that attack the center. Some people like to play d4 immediately, attacking the center. Some people like to prepare it with c3, attacking the center. Some people like to put their knight here. It's just different ways of using the principle. But they all apply to the principle. So now it's black's move. He's a little stumped, so he takes. Okay, now he has no pawns in the center, and right? Nothing. It looks like I just had a ton of free moves. So of course I'm going to take back development. Always keep in mind this check. Whenever you move your f pawn, you're always looking at queen h4 to see if it does anything. Mandatory. So instead he goes queen f6. This threatens the bishop and x-rays the f-file, but that's easily responded to. It's not a significant threat. I mean, let's say you just retreated it, you would be perfectly fine. If you defended it, you'd be perfectly fine. There's also free stuff, which we know is the unwritten principle that we also follow. But in this, notice that if you defend this here, he does have this tactic, knight takes check, deflecting your queen, ruining your structure, winning a pawn, taking the bishop. So you definitely don't want that. So in light of that, free stuff is looking better and better. And you may say, well, this is no real big deal, but it controls, it would potentially control these squares if it moved. That's kind of a big deal. So black moves his queen again in the opening, in the first 7 moves. And for what? Well, let's see. Is he threatening anything? No threats. Doesn't coordinate with the knight. doesn't coordinate with anything, and so it's just a useless move. Drawback, it literally hangs on this diagonal. So that's why my opponent realized it. That's why my opponent resigned right away. Another hanging queen. You have so many pieces. Why are you moving your queen multiple times? You have all the other cool pieces. So because that game ended like that, we'll play another one. And again, I didn't do it because I clicked the new opponent, but if you go back, every move of the 8 to 10 moves of that game, center, development, king safety, which I don't even think I got to. So if you're rated this low, you can just stomp everybody by just following these principles. Like, even if you really don't know what's going on or what you're doing, just by making a move, just by looking for the moves that are development moves and hit the center and just getting that out of the way, your opponent at these ratings, they're going to do some ridiculous thing and you'll have won by then, like I'm doing. So now we're up against Stewart, rated 595. He puts a pawn in the center. It attacks d5. I put a pawn on d6, which attacks e5. So he's attacking this central square. I'm attacking this central square. Okay, now he plays c3. That attacks this central square, right? So it's all about the center. I'm going to develop a piece and attack this central square. So that's all it is. It's the fight. The fight for the high ground, right? We need high ground. Now this is, again, ridiculous queen moves. You can see the pattern, right? Now you know what not to do if you're these guys. Queen a4. It comes with a check, fine. But who cares? I can block it 1, 2, 3 good ways. All of them are awesome. I wouldn't give him the queen trade because he doesn't deserve it. So we can just, normally you've seen me go c6. The reason you've seen me do that is because it comes with a tempo on the bishop. In this case, although c6 is perfectly fine and a good move, it doesn't come with a tempo, meaning we don't get the turn back. So I'm going to choose bishop d7. This hits the queen, meaning he has to move the queen or interpose, which would give us c6. And that gives us the turn back. And I love free moves in chess. I feel like it's not talked about enough to utilize these free moves. So queen b4, this does come with a threat. The drawback is it's the second queen move in the first 4 moves of the game. Obviously not scary. To prove a point, I'm going to ignore this pawn and I'm going to do center, development, king safety. I'm going to develop knight c6. This comes with a threat, but it's just a developing move that attacks and controls the center. He can take this pawn if he wants, and I would do this even if the e4 pawn wasn't hanging. Like, let's say he defended it, and on this turn I can't take the pawn, which I can. I would still do this because look, 1, 2, 3 minor pieces out. He has 0. It's my move. I would kick his queen. It has to go here. I would kick his queen. It would have to retreat somewhere. And I would have 3 minor pieces. My rook on an open file. For what? A b pawn? Any day of the week. Someone says, hey, you want to start a chess game with this position, down a pawn? Of course, all the time I would say yes. That's all this is. Just because the pawn's attacked, who cares? In this specific case, he's also hanging a central pawn, so that's a huge no-no. So I'm going to go, instead of bringing my rook in, I'm going to take this pawn because it affects the center. Removing a central pawn has a dramatic effect on the center. And when it's for free, it essentially becomes an overwhelming advantage that's basically a win once you get to, like, I don't know, 1700 and up. You don't generally mess those positions up. When you're just up a free central pawn, it's kind of like game. I mean, you can still blunder, but... And now, I mean, his position's just garbage. Everything's on the back rank. His queen moved a 3rd time. I didn't even attack it. He's just moving it for free for no reason. No threats. Now I'm going to go here because it's development. The rook controls 2 squares, right? If I put it here, it's gonna attack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 open squares, and for free. You guys, for free, right? Tempo, free. I'm making my position better. I'm winning for free. Free is good. Queen goes to c4. This threatens my knight, right? You can just bring back your knight, no problem. Best position in the world. Do we have the other moves? Well, this hangs the pawn. This hangs the knight. Okay, f5 is unnecessarily weakening. This isn't as good of a square, so we just go back home. It's even better. Know why? Because at home, it attacks the center. When it was on e4, it was not attacking the center, it was attacking the opponent's camp, which generally can be a good thing if you have coordination, but if you don't have coordination, attacking your opponent's most defended stuff doesn't actually matter, right? I'd rather fight for the high ground. We need full map control to take out Stewart. That's what I want you guys to embed in your skull. You want full map control. You need the high ground in the center. From these 4 squares, you can access the entire board rapidly. These guys, how am I supposed to make videos when move 3, move 4, move 5, move 6, move 7, and move 8 were all queen moves? 6 out of 8 moves, only to put it in front of my rook. And he takes back like he planned it, like it's part of his master plan. It was a queen sack. Okay. Whatever. Center. Pawn in the, you see, when you're winning, when you're up a queen, you don't have to do anything crazy unless you have, checkmates. I just put a pawn in the center, right? Prepares my development in castle. He attacks my center, but it's not a threat because both squares are defended. Drawback of his move, not only can I continue with development, but when you do attack the center, you also have to make sure you're not just hanging stuff. He's hanging his pawn, because I can recapture twice. The end of the line, he could get this A pawn, but A, it's meaningless, and B, I would have things like knight c2 check or other follow-ups. I'm going to take the pawn once to open up the E file. Now you don't have to take, you could definitely take it, but you don't have to take it. But it's kind of just hanging there. I'm gonna take it. Central pawn, it's a hanging central pawn. I have to take it, right? I really wanted to just develop, but if I had a stronger developing move, like one with more oomph, I would have done that. But bishop e7, it's the only available square, so it's just a lame square. Like I would rather even go d5 and bring the bishop out. Okay, so he takes this pawn, but like I said, completely missing the thread of the game. That pawn has nothing to do with anything. He's hanging more pawns, right? But it would be very noobish to grab a meaningless pawn that has no bearing on the game like this, as opposed to a central pawn. So in this particular case, I want to develop. I want to get my queen in because his king is so exposed, I should have lots of options to attack it. But the queen's diagonals are currently blocked. So how can I develop it for free with tempo? Boom. Queen b8. I'm getting it to a much more open location with threats for free. He doesn't get to do what he wants. He doesn't get to get the turn back and develop his knight casually and prepare castling. No, because his rook's hanging. So it's free. He doesn't care. He doesn't care because his pawn's hanging, and that's what matters to a 595. Forget the rook. This doubled pawn right here, that's the guy you need to save. So he develops his bishop and protects the pawn, which doesn't protect it because it's hit twice. I could still take it. But of course, we take the rook. Why won't you resign? Please resign. So I can go eat dinner. That's way more important than your b3 pawn. And this game is beautiful and instructive and shows you what positions just naturally happen when you follow the plans. It's not even always the same moves, but you just end up with really nice position with nice pieces. Okay, so he develops a knight. I don't know why he didn't. Oh, he doesn't want me to double his pawns, because that's the determining factor when I'm up a queen. So 92. Maybe it threatens a knight trade. I don't know. I'm gonna oblige him just to open the diagonal for my queen. It's just to get my queen in smoother, quicker. Okay, like I said, I do want to develop in castle and get my pieces in the game, but bishop e7 is so lame that I'm going to use center first for free, right? For free to open up this diagonal. So now I can develop it on much more badass diagonals, right? So don't be, so when you're here and you're like, "Oh, I have to develop my bishop. I have to go here, or maybe I have to play g6." It's like, "No. d5." How many of you don't even consider that option, right? No, this is the proper diagonal. This is the proper way to do it. Now white completely ignores me hanging the bishop, so there's that. Hopefully you guys don't hang pieces like this. If you do, it's not a matter of chess understanding. It's a matter of goldfish attention, you know, doom scrolling brain. You can easily see that your piece is under attack. You could take your time and not hang it, right? It's not like a complicated variation. It's I'm gonna take your bishop next move. So, okay, so now you're kind of just looking for checkmate. If I put my bishop here, it's in the way of my queen. I would rather have my queen leading than behind the bishop. I'd rather have it in front. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my bishop here, so it's not in the way. It's a developing move on a nice diagonal. And then you can either castle and go rook e8, or what I'm going to do is king d8 and rook e8. And the difference is, in one variation, my king's on d8, and the other it's on g8. Now, what's the difference? The difference is the queens are off the board, well, at least his queen. So, if you look at it like an endgame, you want your king closer to the center, g8's further from the center, so we're going to pick d8. Simple, logical. I don't understand chess other than in a way I can explain it to myself in words, which is what I'm trying to do with you. So he goes and moves his rook over. This threatens to remove his king with a discovered check. It's a good idea. We are going to get our king, like we said, to d8. This move has to do with development. Sure, it's a king move, but it's all about bringing the rook over. It concerns itself with development. So he moves his king over. That concerns itself with king safety, because he was in trouble. But now that he's on a light square, he's opened himself up to multiple checks that I didn't have previously. So I'm going to pick one, mostly at random, because taking a pawn with check is free. This rook move, you can always do it after, right? So you take the free move, the free piece, you throw in a check. Now he's really has to come closer to me. Well, this obviously doesn't help because I take with check, and it's the same position. So that made no sense, but okay. And now he has to come closer to my pieces, closer to my army. My army is just ready to ambush him from the trees, right? He goes this way. I'm really not, I just want to give any check that brings a piece in. So, because checks are almost like free moves. So it's like, if I can give this check, it's almost like I can get my queen closer to his king without spending a move. Kind of cool. I have this check. I'm just going to stick with this one. If he goes here, maybe I'll go up. If he blocks, maybe I'll attack it at another time. And we'll never actually get to use our rook. But that happens when their king is so exposed. So he does block it, but this self pins, so less than ideal. But because he's in a pin, I'm going to use this Oh wait, what am I saying? That actually hangs the bishop. I didn't even see the knight. Okay, scratch that. I'm going to give this check because checks are free moves, so not wasting time unless the checks help him improve his position somehow. But moving his king isn't going to improve his position. It actually blocks the file, so now I have other options I didn't have last turn, because let's say I want to apply pressure to this bishop and I can't go to a3 because of the knight. I would love to go to e5 and pressure it, but I can't because of the rook. But now I throw in a free move, he moves his king, and then I could have pressured it. Of course, that I'm just showing you an example. It doesn't actually work move by move here, because once he moves the king here or here, it's no longer pinned. Um, of course, here he would still blunder, but if he went to c1 and I move my bishop here, he could just take it, but then he would get checkmated, so I guess it does work. Either way, he just lost contact with the bishop, so I just take it with check for free. And now he's potentially walking into mating nets, but I have 20 seconds, I just noticed. Why did no one tell me? Okay, now it's time for the rook. And we should be able to checkmate him in 20 seconds up a queen and two bishops. This cuts off his rook while giving this check. And now look at his king. It can only go there to d3. I'm just going to go here and here, or here and here's checkmate. Did I have a faster checkmate? Because if I go here, he just goes back on the file. And then he can go the other way. I don't want to have to calculate that with 10 seconds. This, how does he stop the, oh. I still want to checkmate him. Whatever. I have 6 seconds. I don't have time for this. That's not good. Here. Oh wait, this is. Yeah. You know, last move I was gonna play c5, but I thought he can run this way, but the knight covers that square, so it was checkmate last move. I should have trusted my instinct. My gut was, I was like about to play c5, but then I'm like, no, he can escape to c6. But no, he can't escape because the knight's covering it. But when time gets low, I panic and yeah. Okay, so that's a really cool checkmate. Look at that checkmate. What do you know? His king ended up getting checkmated in the center, at the top of the hill, on the high ground. We chopped his head off. And look, it's just domination. Nothing you could do about it. We crush and control the center, right? Like, it's overwhelming. Anyway, let's go back and just quickly center development. And again, this was development with a threat. This is development with a threat. Development with a threat. Free stuff. Development with a threat. That's a lot of that so far. This is center development, and most importantly, not hanging your piece, right? That's the overriding principle, of not hanging your piece, just finding the best square. Of course, he just hangs the queen, nothing to talk about. Center. Center. Center, free stuff. Development with a threat. Free stuff. And okay, here's the first move. I mean, it's already, I'm up a queen, so it doesn't matter what we do here. But here is the first move where you could say, like, unnecessary, right? Knight takes knight. Now, I told you in the game I did it just to open my diagonal, but if I was just 100% following principles, I mean, technically it's not even the opening anymore, so I don't need to, but let's say I still was. You could just develop right? He's not threatening anything. He'll bring your queen in closer for you. And so bishop e7 and castling would have been the more standard way of playing this for you guys. But I'm up a queen. I know I'm going to win. So I'm just trading a piece. Simplification is also a concept when you're up a queen. So you have to use your brain, right? Not, oh, well, he said this, and Danya said that, and this guy said this. Like, use your brain. Think for yourself. Okay, so now again, just center. Free stuff. Development. Development. Free stuff. Free stuff. And then checkmate. But again, it's always the same. Go through your games. I promise you, you're going to have an abundance of moves that do not adhere. Go through your first 15 moves of your last 10 games and see if how it works out. And let me know in the comments, because I'm very curious to know, out of 15 moves, your first 15, how many of them have nothing to do with the center development or your king safety. So anyway, that was fun. We got a few wins. Took down Stu. I will see you guys in the next video. Good luck. Submit your games in my Discord.